Welcome back, everybody, and happy Friday once again. Uh, kind of been on a back issue binge as of late. Trying to get back into it after the holidays and after the crazy work schedule. This is some stuff. These first few are just stuff that I didn't have or wanted to upgrade, and the other stack is stuff that I actually had when I was younger, and I wanted again, or was trying to upgrade, or just had a missing gap in the series. These first two, if you fans of 3D comics, was put out by Eclipse in the 80s, and I'm trying to get all the stuff I can on Tor by Joe Kubert. And this is actually reprints of the Tor 3D comic he did back in the 50s. And actually really cool, and it's got new covers on it. I know Tony, Why Not Art, he's a big collector of 3D stuff, and I'm sure he's already got these, but the covers are really cool, and like I say, it reprints, the original Tor from the 1950s. And Kubert's artwork was a little bit different back then. Still great stuff to look at. This was complete with the glasses, so that was another plus. You get the 3D glasses. But for fans of Joe Kubert and Tor, or just fans of 3D comics, really cool to have, and I got these for a song, so I was really happy with that. There's issue 1, and another issue 2. Another great cover by Kubert. I guess this was probably around 85 or 86 when this came out. Like I say, glasses included in this one too. So, and more Kubert. Even back then, he was kind of getting into the style that we kind of saw in the later years. A lot of people call it scratchy. I call it just great art and storytelling. So, pretty cool stuff. And my DC Comics Presents run, I think I actually had a couple of these already, but upgraded. Actually, here's issue 1, which I already had, with Superman and Flash, and you got great Garcia Lopez art. There's number 1. That's an upgrade. I think I had number 2 was actually missing. I'd had it years ago and don't know what happened to it, but here's issue 2, more Garcia Lopez and Dan Adkins on the art. And this oh, excuse me. This was actually when DC upped their page count to 44 pages for 50 cents. This was called the DC Explosion, soon to be known as the Great DC Implosion. And for anybody that wants to know the story of that, I've been planning to do a video on that for a while. But yeah, got more bang for your buck there, I guess. I think the first story was like 25 pages. That's number 2. And number 3, Superman and Adam Strange, more Garcia Lopez. I don't know if you can really call this a giant size book. It's not square bound or anything, but you've got a few more pages to read. Okay, this next stack, if you fans of Batman, of which I am a big fan, I love the old Brave and Bold title. And this is a stack that, like I say, some I had and something happened to them, and some I had when I was a kid. Some I'm just trying to fill gaps. I'm actually trying to get the whole run from like issue 98 through 200. And these are a bunch of scattered issues in between 161 and 200, which was the last issue. But, like I say, some are upgrades, some I had missing, and some I had when I was a kid, and I just wanted to have them again. But, anybody that's a fan of Batman and Brave and Bold and Jim Aparo, especially, I love his art. Now, he's not in all these, but I think probably 90% of them. I think he at least does the covers. But you have 161 with Batman Adam Strange. 162 Batman and Sergeant Rock, and he was a frequent co-star in The Brave and Bold. He's actually really fun stories, and anybody that read DC stuff know that this stuff was like totally outside of continuity. Bob Haney wrote this stuff, and they started referring to these stories as coming from Earth B for Bob. So he pretty much just did whatever he wanted to and said screw continuity. And actually there were some really fun stories in here. So, and you have 165 with Batman and Man-Bat. Cool cover. This is one I had when I was a kid, and I just wanted to replace it. Issue 166, Batman and Black Canary against the Penguin. And you had a backup feature, Nemesis. I think art was by Dan Spiegel. I think Mark Evanier might have done the script on those, Jack Kirby's assistant, but I'm not sure. But it's a really cool cover. It just kind of pops out at you. And all these are still relatively cheap, so even in higher grades you can still get pretty good bargains on them. Here's a cool one. Batman and Scalp Hunter. You got Batman in the middle of the Civil War. Like I say, totally outside of what was then DC's continuity. But sometimes you just read a story because it's good. Here's one that I didn't have. I was glad to get number 176, Batman and Swamp Thing. And you have a great Mike Kaluta cover on that one. And Jim Aparo on the interiors. Death in the Heart of the Swamp. Really creepy cover. Haven't bagged all this stuff yet, but and Brave and Bold 180, Batman and the Spectre. I think he made several appearances in this title. And this one I remember was a really good story. Batman and Hawk and Dove. And I think Hawk and Dove was actually a creation by Steve Ditko back in the mid to late 60s. Another favorite story, Batman and Robin the X-Boy Wonder. So this is Batman actually traveling to what was then Earth 2 to team up with the grown-up Robin and Kathy Kane Batwoman. And they're fighting against Hugo Strange, another really cool Batman villain. You have the old Batmobile. And I think there's actually an appearance by Starman in this too, the old JSA hero. Yeah, I had this one before, and I just got a pretty good sized crease there, but I just wanted to kind of fill in some gaps. A really cool cover. Batman and Huntress. I think Huntress actually crosses over to Earth 1 in this one. And I think this was after the death of the Earth 2 Batman. She actually called Bruce Wayne of Earth 1 Uncle Bruce, the times that they met. So another cool story. Batman and Metal Man. That's always a fun team up. I think they probably teamed up with him 3 or 4 times in Brave and Bold. And here 188, Batman and Rose and Thorn. For those of you that remember that character. I think she started in the Superman books like in the early 70s maybe. Issue 188. There's part 2 of that story, 189, Batman, Rose and Thorn. And number 190 with Adam Strange once again. Who killed Adam Strange? I'm sure we'll find out. I always thought Adam Strange was a pretty cool character too. Another cool little story, Batman and Superboy against, I think it's an old Hawkman villain called IQ. I think the guy's name was Ira Quimby, and he was supposed to see some kind of genius or something. But you have actually, I think Superboy and Superman actually switched places in time, and Superboy came forward and teamed up with Batman. And I think in this story, actually, he found out about his parents being dead, and it didn't sit well with him. So, but it was a cool little story. Batman and Nemesis, Brave and Bold 193. Another really cool story, Brave and Bold 195, Batman and I, Vampire. And those of you that have seen the video where I had the Tom Sutton book, he did a lot of the I, Vampire stories in House of Mystery. So it's really another good run to have. This was a good story. Batman and Ragman, number 196. It's another KUBERT creation. Really liked Ragman. He had a couple short-lived series in the 70s, and I think maybe in the early 90s he had a series. And here's a really fond of this one, Brave and Bold 197, Batman and Catwoman, and this is actually the pre-crisis Earth 2 Batman, and it kind of tells you how Batman and Catwoman got together and actually got married. And the Huntress was their daughter against the Scarecrow. Really cool issue. More Batman and Spectre, 199. We have Jim Corrigan in the foreground. And last but not least, and the last issue of Brave and Bold. It was a giant size, square-bound book. It had Batman and Batman. Yeah, so it had the Batman, the Golden Age Batman, and I guess at that time the Modern Age Batman. And this was, unfortunately, the last issue. This title of it had a preview of Batman and the Outsiders. So you have Jim Aparo on the cover, and I think Dave Gibbons actually did the artwork in this story. And Jim Aparo was on the Outsiders tale. So, really nice book. This is one I had and I wanted to replace. So. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around. Lots of great Batman stuff there. And hope you guys are having a great weekend. And as always, onward and upward.